Every time you get a chance to witness this scene, you feel lucky. Nothing like it.
Man, this is what it's all about. This is what college football is all about. I've said this is the best scene in the country.
I love and appreciate you guys. Understand this. We didn't get here without every single person in this room. We got here together. Let's finish this thing together. Everybody got me? Let's go do this thing.
Welcome back to Whiteout Weekly on what sort of feels like a victory week, but I'm going to consider this a vindication week after talking smack all last podcast about Iowa. The number 2 team in the nation fell this past weekend, 24-7 at home against the Boilermakers. And guess who was on that train? Me. Put a modest little $20 bet down to win 95 because I was just so certain that I know Iowa better than they know themselves. That's how confident I was putting that down. And I'm also very, very, very fortunate to not have to live in whatever town Iowa's campus is on for 2 weeks this summer. That was a bold bet by me, but I knew it. I knew they weren't going to win. There was no chance. No chance in the world.
I was going to say, you can still be confident that you know them better than themselves without even having to spend any time there.
Exactly. I just know this football program in and out. And the way that they acted against Penn State, I knew they were a little too cocky for the britches, coming back down to earth. And that's exactly what they did against Purdue.
It was nice, too. I think the Purdue Twitter account, I think they put out there, we took a number 2 on Iowa or something to that extent. So.
Fantastic.
Well played by the social media team.
Fantastic social media. Yeah, I mean, like, it really doesn't make sense. The number 2 team in the nation, Iowa, like, we should have beat them. Like, you know what I mean? And really, I feel vindicated because I talk so much smack, but it's also like they're a fraud number 2 team.
I think you also see it from the polls that came out on Sunday, the way that the rest of the nation feels, where you see Iowa drop that game and they fall out of the top 10, whereas we dropped that game to them with everything that went on and still stayed put at number 7.
Yeah.
Even after this week too. So I think that's really telling, and how those involved in the polls and how everyone else, the coaches, the AP, how they see Penn State right now. So I think that was pretty telling.
For sure. Now let's move on to this week. It's going to be a quick episode this week. We're just previewing the Illinois game and doing the Big Ten Betting Bonanza. But the big story of the week is the Sean Clifford injury, as well as the backup quarterbacks, Taquan Roberson and Christian Villu. Is that how you say it?
You or Vier? I don't know.
You, Vier?
It's Canadian, so
I'll call him Villu. That sounds like Giroux. Sounds Canadian to me.
I like that.
What's the latest you've heard, Dave?
So Franklin just spoke a little bit ago. So obviously, in the Iowa game where Roberson couldn't get the snap off. So it would be nice to get him some more snaps this week. You're coming in as a 24-point favorite, but Franklin, rather, like we've said before, is very ho-hum about injuries. Hasn't disclosed anything aside from Mustafa, who we did announce that was out for the year.
Yeah.
But looks like so far in practice, at least today, it looked like all 3 of them were splitting the first team reps.
So Clifford is practicing.
Clifford is practicing.
Okay.
So on Sunday, I think was the first time they had practiced after the bye week. Clifford was not out there, but so far it seems like, and Franklin had mentioned that today wasn't the first day that Clifford was out there throwing. So it looks like the 3 of them were splitting reps. He's still unclear with who's going to get the nod Saturday. My vote, or my thought, would be it would be Roberson out there to start, and they're going to hold Clifford to make sure he's good for Ohio State. I know they have the 1-0 mentality. Don't want to look ahead, but I think you do in this case. Make sure he's good.
Yeah, you can't risk an injury to Sean Clifford right before a humongous Ohio State game against a team like Illinois. Like, let's just be honest. That just can't be a risk factor that way to take in. Yeah, and if that means like Roberson has come out early and we have to kind of switch it up a little bit, then so be it. But I'd rather not risk a further injury that will be a detriment to the continuation of our season, because we need Clifford at this point.
Yeah, and if we're trying to go where we think we're going to go, you need to be able to get by Illinois with your back in the game.
Yeah.
So while this week's QB situation, or at least for now, looks a little unclear, we did get some good news this week. 2022 commit Drew Allar,
our boy,
received that final 5th star.
Woo!
That boy is a 5-star QB, first to commit to Penn State since Christian Hackenberg in 2013. So when he first committed to us, it was a 3-star. Worked his way up to a 5-star, now a 5-star, number 1 QB in the nation. So big things to come there at the quarterback position. So real exciting news headed into game week. And
Love it.
Also is soon to be running mate Nick Singleton out of Governor Mifflin, ranked as the number 1 running back in the nation too. So you got the number 1 QB, number 1 running back coming to a theater near you in a state college backfield.
Hey, now.
Big news, baby. Big news.
So yeah, this kid is. I mean, I hate calling Hackenberg a 5-star. I guess he earned it coming out of high school, but this kid seems like the fucking real deal. He's 6'4.5". Let's give him 6'5", 228. So he's a sturdy fucking boy in the pocket. Like, it's gonna take a lot to take him down. Yeah. But just going over the top 10 QBs for the class of 2022. Drew Allar, number 1, going to Penn State. 2, Cade Klubnik, going to Clemson. 3, Connor Wegman, going to A&M. 4, Ty Simpson, going to Alabama. 5, Devin Brown, going to USC. So seeing Penn State at the top of that list, getting the top quarterback is, again, we say this we said this since the beginning. This is something we've dreamed of. Like, getting those consistent 4 or 5-star recruits is what we've been lacking over the past decade or so. Yeah,
and you hope this, especially with how the offense has looked with Clifford, who isn't the highly touted recruit by any means. And with Allar coming in now, really knocks down the door to let the floodgates open, man. Let the QBs come rolling in.
Yeah,
they got Bo Pribula coming in the same class, who should be an interesting competition between those two guys. I think, obviously, with this new ranking, you would think Allar has the nod, but it's a good QB class, and hopefully for many years to come.
And even as much of a lead foot, one read wonder that Christian Hackenberg was, he did have good seasons with Bill O'Brien. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he had good seasons. So I feel like any 5-star talent coming in here is going to do semi-well, like Christian Hackenberg. 5-star talent, set all the records, but like, we can consider him a phenomenal quarterback in Penn State history. I think with Mike Yurchik, that whole new offense, this could elevate into a different era of Penn State quarterbacking, and that's all we've been asking for a while now.
Sure hope so.
And then I'm going to give one last shout out before we move on to trivia. Both our boys, Kwani B, Jaquan Brisker, midseason All-American, according to ESPN. We've been praising his name basically all season. He got the number 1 play, if you've been following our Twitter and TikTok, for the midseason plays on his INT against Wisconsin, which was, I watch that highlight still and get like so excited every time I see it. Like it was just so good. But shout out to Kwani B for midseason All-American.
Yeah, big year for him so far, earning himself a lot of money coming up, heading into the draft next year. Like we said, he's going to be a big-time player on Sundays. Going to have to step up even more so with Mustafa out for the year as a leader on that defense. So losing the big guy up front who's team captain, vocal leader.
Yep.
Going to need to see even more out of Brisker, and it's hard to ask for more out of him, but interested to see what more he can bring to the table with Mustafa out of there.
So our defensive tackles now are going to be Tangelo, and then who's going to fill in for Mustafa?
I think first guy out is probably going to be Devon Ellis.
Okay.
Who was, again, a little banged up last week. Could see maybe, I know Hakeem Beeman, they were looking for something out of him at the start of the year. He's been inactive, in trouble. So interesting to see. We'll be interested to see who they put in that role. But I think Devon Ellis will be the next guy up, him and Tangelo. Gotcha.
All right. So before we move on to the Illinois preview, cue the music. We got a little bit of trivia time coming up here. Again, this is 2000 to 2010 Penn State football trivia. I believe we missed it last week, but I believe the score is you hit both your two. I've hit both my two.
I think so. Yeah.
2-0. So this is a long-winded question. Might lead you astray. We're getting a little harder, trying to do a little maze question here. So in 2009, Penn State went 11-2, led by Darryl Clark on offense, Navarro Bowman, and Sean Lee on defense. That year, they played LSU in the Capital One Bowl, winning 19-7. Who was Penn State's leading rusher in that game?
Capital One Bowl. 2009.
You got a hint and a phone a friend.
2009.
Let me get your hint ready.
I might need that hint. I'm going to use the hint.
Calling in the hint.
Calling in the hint.
All right. We're going to have to think of a sound for the hint, for the hint lifeline. All right. Let me pull this up here. It's definitely going to give it away if you know the steps that I'm going to refer to. He's the number one all-time leading rusher in Penn State history.
Evan Royster.
There we go.
Hey.
Bad boom. Surprisingly,
damn it! I wish I saved that lifeline. Fuck.
No points against the lifeline.
No, I'll use it if it's there. Use it.
Yeah. How about we get to use one? Like, so now that your hint, no more hints for us.
Off the table for the rest.
Yeah. Now you only get a phone a friend.
Phone a friend.
But yeah, that was a big old hint. 3-0. And we'll be back with the Illinois preview coming up next. And here we are with the preview of number 7 Penn State hosting the 2-5 Fighting Illini, who had a really surprising victory in, I think it was week 0 that they called it, over Nebraska.
Yeah.
And that was their one win. And then they beat the Charlotte. Can you guess the nickname? It's tough. Nothing to do with Charlotte, I don't think.
Is it Cavaliers?
It's an NFL team name on the West Coast.
Charlotte. Oh. 49ers.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so they beat Nebraska and the Charlotte 49ers.
Ooh.
And then last week, they just lost to Wisconsin 24-0. So by the transitive property, we should roll this team. But to really further the turmoil that Illinois is in, Brett Bielema had some choice words for his coaching staff, his players, and pretty much the program as a whole. So he told reporters on Monday, I just know this. As a head coach, you're only as good as your roster. I kind of learned that the first time I went to the Kentucky Derby, right? Nobody was betting on the jockeys. Everybody was betting on the horses. So to win the Derby, you got to have the right horse. And I think our players are going to be a reflection of what our program stands for. Tough. basically saying you don't have the horses for the race right now. He goes on to say, in particular, the offensive line. I don't believe we have a player in the 2 deep, like the second stringers, that the previous coaching staffs have recruited over the last 3 years that is really significantly doing anything for us in the playing department. And that's a major concern. That's something that we have to do. So either he's trying to light a bonfire under this team's ass, or he's basically coming to the realization that this is going to take a lot of work to rebuild the Illinois football program. I don't think he knew what he really got himself into.
Yeah, really feeling himself there with a 2-5 football program that's been in turmoil for quite some time, taking shots at Lovie Smith.
And like a 2-5, and you're taking shots at current players. You're like, the guys we have now, they suck. Like they're not the horses to win the race. Like what? Excuse me.
Shots at your team as a head coach of a 2-5 team. That's not a good look.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And like, I don't know if I'm reading too deep into this, but like, is he referring to himself like no one bets on the jockeys, meaning like on the jockey? It's the horses. Like, it's not my fault. It's the horse's fault. Like,
yeah.
Come on, dude. Come on. That might be a total speculation, but
it could be, but it sounds bad.
So what is good with this Illinois offense? I know they're running like a two quarterback system with 2 grad transfers, which seems kind of odd to me.
Yeah, well, when they kicked off the year in week 0, it looked like they were all in on Peters being the guy, Brandon Peters, so transfer from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Backing him up was a transfer from Rutgers, Artur Sikowski.
Mm-hmm.
So Peters last
Remember
year.
that name.
Yeah. So Peters last year was a starter, had some injury issues, and then week 1 this year, or week 0 rather, gets hurt again. So it's kind of been rifling back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Neither really pop off the charts. Could have a lot to do with the talent that's around them. Quote Brett Bielema there.
As Bielema is
but I wouldn't say
throwing
that
it out there.
But yeah, both of them hovering around 500, 600 pass yards on the year. Running back wise, not doing a whole lot. So they got Chase Brown, sophomore, averaging about 4 yards a carry, and then really their only lone.
He's a good dual threat.
Yeah.
Running backs. I think he's like 4th or 5th on the team in pass catching. So So from a pass catching perspective, you got him, and then really their only lone bright spot has been Isaiah Williams, true freshman. I think he's got about 35, 40 catches on the air, a couple touchdowns. But other than that, they don't really have anything that should scare you, especially with a defense as good as Penn State. Looking at their stats, he's the only one catching the ball for them. The second most receptions on the team, he has 32. Casey Washington is 13.
Yeah.
So he has more than double the amount of receptions.
They do a pretty good job of taking care of the ball. It probably just means that they're punting all the time because they're not getting
3 and outs. You protect the ball really well when you're getting a lot of 3 and outs.
Yeah. So but yeah, offense not much to write home about.
Here's a sign. Sikowski, that guy, he's throwing for 666 yards this year. 666. Avoid. Ooh. Devil number. Avoid him. If he's starting, I might throw $1,000 on State.
Oh, minus 24. Saquon throwing for 5 tutties.
I honestly might minus 24. What's the over under in the game? I didn't even look at that.
I think it was. Oh, I'd be lying if I said I knew. I think it was. I don't think it was in the 40s again. I think it might have been like 51.
Okay, if it was in the 40s, I might not take it because I don't think Illinois is gonna score.
No,
I really don't.
Yeah.
So if it's in the 50s, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
But yeah, going on the defensive side for the Fighting Illini, they officially have the worst defense in the Big Ten. They're allowing over 427 yards per game That's 101st in the nation out of 130 FBS teams. Second worst in the Big Ten is Northwestern, who's giving up only 410 yards per game. So that's about a 17-yard difference per game between them and Northwestern.
Yeah.
Tough look for Illinois.
Yeah.
Top of that, they're the 87th worst rushing defense in the nation. They allow over 163 yards on the ground per game and over 4 yards per rush. And then on top of that, they're the 107th ranked pass defense in the nation, allowing over 264 yards per game and 12.6 yards per reception. So, excuse me, given those numbers, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback. 163 yards on the ground per game. We have to get our three-headed monster involved if you want to take any sort of pressure off Roberson or Christian. If
I'm gonna say, sounds like a good game to get the run game going and blow.
Finally to get the run game going. And if Clifford's not able to go, that's the way to get those quarterbacks comfortable, make them defend the run, and then they'll get some easy one-on-one matchups, maybe some clean looks, some clean routes, breakdown and coverage.
Yeah, keep in mind too with the running back situation, Lovett and Ford went out with all the players that went out during that Iowa game. They were out of there. So could be, didn't hear anything about Kane or Lee. So I think you at least got a two-headed monster there and kind of a dark horse candidate. Keep an eye out for Kazia Holmes.
Yeah.
Last year got some PT. If those
I really
Lovett
like him.
and Ford are unable to go, I think you could see some Holmes in this game.
I personally I love Keep Lee. I think he could be due for a humongous game with the way he runs, just blowing through people, linebackers, defensive backs, doesn't matter.
He had that big 44-yard run against Indiana. Beginning of the year, he was doing a lot of dancing around, which when you're a 230, 240 pound back, you kind of just got to
north south.
You are what you are, go north south. So he's been starting to do that a little bit more, and had some fumble issues at the beginning of the year. Seems to hopefully be past that. So would love to see Liga have a big game.
Same here. One last thing, very unfortunate for this particular player on Illinois, senior linebacker Jake Hansen is out for the season for a third straight year after undergoing knee surgery after the Wisconsin loss. He was leading the defense, doing it all. He had 32 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, a sack, forced 2 fumbles, and recovered 1. So you got to feel for the kid. 3 straight years that he has had his season cut short, and his college career is now over.
To see that
sucks for him, but competitive wise, helps Penn State, helps the run game. I hate to say it, but it'll help that run game, and we need that run game to be the focal point if any of those 2 backups are in the game, because you just don't know what you're going to get from them. They could single-handedly lose this game. So I think the rushing attack is key. All right. Big week last week for me in the Big Ten Betting Bonanza.
The comeback is on.
Huge week. Not only did I win money, I won a little bit of bragging rights in this competition for hitting that first plus 7 for that?
Yeah.
The first plus 7 in Whiteout Weekly history. So we will be back with week 8 of the Big Ten Betting Bonanza coming up right next. It is week 8 of the Big Ten Betting Bonanza, and my oh my, have things shaken up on the leaderboard. So we'll go with the leader first, Dave. Plus 10 heading into last week. Hits Army plus 14. Hits Michigan State minus 4.5 by 0.5. Fuck sketch lines. That's our motto of the year. Fuck sketch lines. And then he hit the over in the Minnesota. What was it?
Nebraska.
So 3-0. So I did a little research, meaning I just looked over my notebook for the past 5 minutes. Dave is 10-2 in the past 4 weeks.
Ooh.
So anyone listening to this, follow the Bear trail right now.
Follow me.
He is on fire with Big Ten betting football.
I will fill your wallets, baby.
But not to be outdone, I had Michigan State as well, the 0.5 cover. Plus sketch lines every time. For some reason, I just have like one bet every week out of my 3 is just the dumbest thing I've ever done. I don't know why I do it. But I picked the over in Army and Wisco. That one 34 miss. But I put my nuts on the table. I put Purdue money line at plus 10.5, 11.5, and it fucking hits. That's plus 7. So Dave,
you put your nuts out there in the cornfield.
I did. Drug them all through the cornfield. So Dave with his 3 wins goes from 10 to 13. And with my 1 win with Michigan State and my plus 7 for picking the money line with the double-digit spread, I'm now at 12. So things are now
that's close again, baby.
That was the bomb shot I needed. 13-12, week 8. Anyone's ball game at this point. We still don't have a punishment, but you better believe the punishment's going to be unbearable. I'll let the freaking 10-2 savant go first.
All right. I just give everyone a little bit of time. Make sure they get their notebooks ready. So I am riding high with Ronnie Bell with Mr. Bell from Purdue. And I'm going Boilermakers money line again over the Badgers this week. Keep it rolling, baby. Boiler up.
Well, I'll have you know, I'm taking the Badgers minus 3.
Oh, no.
I think public perception on Purdue is just sky high. That's not a good symbol.
The old hit it and quit it with Purdue, huh?
Is sky high. Yeah, so Purdue bet them last week. Great game. Probably the game of their season. I think they come back down to earth this week. Wisco shows them who they really are in the Big Ten. I'm taking Wisconsin minus 3.
All right.
So conflicting game right there. That's another big one.
Oh, I like that.
Because you'll get 3 for the money line, and I would only get 1 if hit. All right. Big game there.
All right, let's go.
What's your second pick?
I got another one of those. Hey, I was lucky last week, Nebraska, Minnesota. So I'm going to roll the dice here again. I got Michigan, Northwestern, over 50.5.
Okay.
Like Michigan runs up the score here. And I think
Northwestern
for a couple
can hang.
I don't know that they hang in this one, but I could see 42-14 Wolverine win.
Yeah. So you have the over in that. I wish you would have picked Michigan because I have Northwestern plus 23.5.
Ooh, 23.
Here's why. Michigan State. Let me check. Yeah, they're on a bye this week. Michigan plays Michigan State next week. I think this is a prime look-ahead game for Michigan. Not take Northwestern that seriously. Maybe win by 21. I'm covering, even if they win by 21. Okay. Give me that all day. Look-ahead games. It's look-ahead season right now. Book me. Northwestern plus 23.5.
I like it.
And for your final pick, sir.
I am going with the Buckeyes minus 21 against Indiana. I think it could be a key look-ahead game here for Ohio State, but I think Indiana's just kind of in shambles right now. I think the Buckeyes blow them out and get ready for the Nits coming to town next week.
I'm not going to copy you just for the sake of competition, but any team that's playing Jack Tuttle, especially Ohio State, I'm betting on them.
Yeah.
So for my last one, this is another kind of contradictory bet for me, but I've been hyping Maryland up all season. Talia, he has the goods, but I just don't think he knows how to use them yet. I'm going to go with the Golden Gophers.
Ooh.
-5.
Roll the boat.
At home against Maryland. I think Maryland's coming to a point in their season where they're sort of realizing it's lost. Minnesota's coming off 2 straight wins. The latest one over Nebraska, which was huge. So I think that's giving them more confidence that they're a contender with the Iowa loss, especially in the Big Ten West. So yeah, I'm going with the Golden Gophers -5 over the Terrapins.
Poor Maryland, man.
Looks like we got a bunch of singles on the board. So the big game is going to be that Purdue Wisco game. That'll really decide it. So that'll be it for week 8 of the Big Ten Betting Bonanza. Join us next week to see how we did and to recap the hopeful Penn State destruction of Illinois and Brett Bielema just having an aneurysm on the sideline. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and tuning in to Whiteout Weekly. We will be back every week with more Penn State news and information. And once again, I cannot thank you enough for spending your time with us. Lucci signing out.
See you guys.